Welcome everyone. Occupational injuries and its preventions. This is what we will be talking in today's presentation. So everything that's related to injury of occupations and how do we prevent the injuries. Nothing else but the injuries is what we are talking around it. So let us understand the differences between reactive and proactive means of accident prevention. Remember, reactive after the accidents have happened. Proactive is before the accident has to happen. So that's the difference between reactive and proactive means of prevention of accidents. General overview of different types of accident prevention measures, which is prevalent in the industry today, and to define the hierarchy of risk control thereby. So, what is accident prevention? Requires the creation, maintenance of safe working environment, and the promotion of safe behavior. Originally a reactive process, waiting for accidents or ill health to happen, and then devising and implementing a prevention control. This is what we are looking forward to in times to come. So yes, we will be talking about what is it that requires creations and maintenance of a safe working environment, and originally essentially a reactive process. Essentially, it is the fact that accidents have happened for once, but we would love to avoid the similar accidents in futures altogether. As on when on basis thereby. So accident preventions, if we are talking about it, what leads to an accident? If you look around, we are going to talk everything out here. So it basically we want to understand if an accident has occurred, what led to an accident, as to what was the reason behind that accident for first and foremost thing. Now we need to understand the process, the outcome of the preconception process. Now therein we will talk about the primary causes. What are the primary causes that lead to the shortcomings in terms of behavior of injured person or in terms of an environment? Now, devise a rule for the injured person or the handlers of the equipments as far as the office is concerned. And similarly, devise a technical problems for the guards, the personal protective equipment, make condition as safe as process as far as the environment equipments are concerned. So if we look into it, this is person specific, we are talking about it, and this is somewhere down the corner, the environment, which can be machine related or probably the other factors that can be going around. So once we have investigated the factors, and we would love to isolate the reasons beyond behind which an accident has occurred, so as to prevent accidents from happening in near future. So unsafe acts and condition in quarries. Unsafe acts are quarries, you remember, it's basically in the mining department which goes around it. Unsafe acts are operating equipment at an improper speeds, operating equipment with authority, using equipment improperly, using defective equipment, failure to wear personal protective equipment, talking, improper working position, servicing equipments in motion, defeating safety devices, as on when on basis. Unsafe conditions would be inadequate guards, defective tools or equipment, congestions of the working area, poor housekeeping, excessive noise, poor illuminations, poor ventilation, as on when on basis. How does it goes about it? We need to take this into consideration. So yes, we need to understand what are my acts which is wrong, and what are the condition which is going against a person, as in what needs to be taken into consideration. So yes, in terms of condition, it might be poor illumination, ventilation, noise, poor housekeeping, working area, defective equipment, and inadequate guards. In terms of your behaviors, as far as your acts are concerned, let's say operating equipment at unsafe level, improper speed, equipment improperly, defective equipment, utilizing failure to wear PPEs, talking, improper working conditions, not concentrating, and so on and so forth. So yes, the operating procedures are the most common forms of control measures. In some cases, the only practical way of managing a particular ask should allow for methodical execution of tasks, should address the hazards that have been identified in the risk assessment. Requirement of the law is section 10, probably, obviously, yes, it varies from legislation to legislation. We are talking about particular laws stating you what is to be done and how it is to be carried forth. It is the duty of the quarry operator to ensure that the rules, that the procedures are in place, and the reasons for healthy and safety. A safe system of work eliminates and identify hazards and controls others. Plan to achieve control completions of work with a minimum risk. This is what is the requirement. Fundamental to accident prevention should be fully documenting the hazard, the precaution, the safe working methods then and there, as on when on basis. So yes, we should follow the right dictate of working safe all the time and every time that we are working around it. So let us decide upon the 15 principle of framework for safe system of work. First and foremost is safe design, if possible, the equipment, the environment, safe installation, safe premises and plants, safe tools and equipment, correct use of plants, tools, and equipment. Every time I use the word plant, it should be assigning some kind of machinery plants as such and not the biological plant. So, yes, the machinery, the tools, the equipment, effective planned maintenance for plants, that's the machinery that I'm talking about it, and the equipment, proper working environment using adequate lighting, heating, and ventilation. Trained and competent employees, adequate and competent supervisions, enforcement of safety procedures and policies thereby, additional protection for vulnerable employees, formalized issues and proper utilization of all necessary clothing, continued emphasis on adherences to the agreed safe method of work, regular annual reviews of all system of works to ensure. Now, what are the regular annual system of reviews? Compliance with current legislation, systems are still workable in practice, plant modification are accounted for, substitute materials are allowed, new work methods are incorporated into the system, advanced in technology and exploited, proper precautions in the light of any accidents are taken, continued involvement in and awareness of the importance of written safe system of work, and of course here's the regular feedback to all concerned. Now this is what we are looking into it. Yes, look at the machineries, look at the equipment. You should be able to predict the functionality of the machinery and they should be optimally used and performance should be monitored very diligently. PTW or permits to work is a formal safe system of work, not generally used for low risk operation, but for high risk, let's say a nuclear plant, for a mining industry, for construction industries at a very higher level in terms of heights. Permit to work systems are required for every requirements then and there. Yes, so permit to work, the essential elements are full explanation of hazards involved in the workplace. It should be full depiction of it, pasted on the workplace altogether so that people are bound to follow the dictates or the requirement for the permits to work. The work should be carried out in properly detailed and understood by both sides. The areas in which work has to be carried is properly detailed. The area which work should be carried should be made safe or hazards are to be highlighted as on when on basis should be properly detailed. The work must sign the permit to say that they fully understand the risk involved in it, and they should be able to take the requisite protections and they should be fully aware of it. When the work is finished, the workman must sign off the permit to say that they have completed the specified work and left the operation in a suitable state. Training helps people acquire skills, knowledge, and attitude to make them competent in the health and safety aspects of their work. There are generally two types of safety training. First is specific safety trainings or on the job training or for tasks of a specified nature. Next would be a planned training such as general safety training, induction training, management training, skill training, refresher course that are planned by the organization as on when on basis. We should never underestimate the importance of PPE, the personal protective equipment. Personal protective equipment may be broadly divided as hearing protection, respiratory protection, eye and face protection, and definitely the protective clothing that comes around it. I again repeat, hearing protection, respiratory protection, eye and face protection, protective clothing. Personal protective equipment does nothing to stop hazard at source, but simply provides protection. It doesn't eliminate the hazardous potentials of an environment, but probably what it does, it keeps you safe from the impact and probably reduce the severity of the potential accidents by a large percentage. So it is only effective for effective control if worn, and so organization which provides the issues for PPE should carry adequate stock about it, enable accessibility at appropriate time, responding to the changing demands, having a system of exchanging equipment be managed to ensure that the effective running happens as on when on basis. With this, we need to understand that personal protective equipment is a must. Protective equipment requirement, where it is needed at your eyes, heads, and foot and toes. Must all protruding elements of your body should be protected around. So, needed at eyes, machines and operations are presence danger for flung objects, where objects might be flunging out, where you might be actually drilling something. Hence, when there is a danger for impact or penetration from falling or flying objects from the top, you're working and something falls on top of you. So you require a protection for your head, foot and toe, where areas there might be potential for foot and toe. Let's say there might be nails, there might be metals, there might be protruding objects which comes around it. So what kind of protection? For eyes, it might be goggles, face shields, and safety glasses. For head, it might be a safety hats, full brain, it might be a limited voltage protection. For foot and toe, you can have an impact and compression resistant metastarial protection, good shoes, puncture resistance, electrical hazard resistant. For fitting requirement, should be comfortable for your eyes, comfortable and proper fit for your head and foot. Toe suggested records should be date issued, reissued, type issued. How good at it should be notified both for eyes, heads, and foot and toe. Examination as a visual, accurately depth perception per se. Now, when I talk about the equipment for your hand, hearing, and respiratory, where it is needed, remember your dangers of cuts from handling corrosive solvents or other chemical equipments. Now, that is where your hand is meant to be protected about your hearing noise exposure at an equals exceed 85 decibel in an 8 hour time period. For example, you might be working or flying a helicopter. It is deafening noises that comes around it. Respiratory similarly would be the areas that present limited breathable environment, probably in a mining area, probably where there is not proper ventilation type of protection for head would be all about gloves. We are speaking about leather gloves, cotton gloves, heat resistant gloves. For hearing, it has to be full muffs, disposable plugs. Anybody probably is running a diesel engine in a railway, probably that's a deafening noise that they are working around it. In terms of respiratory, you should be looking at air purifying respiratory chemical cartridges that needs to be taken into consideration. Remember, your lungs provides the breathable air and they should be completely protected. The fitting requirements remain more or less proper fit and the correct type for everything as far your hands, hearing, and respiratory organs are concerned. Suggested record should be documented when it has been issued, when it has been reissued, what was the type instruction, the expiry date of anything that comes around it, and examination needed should always be on a visual basis. They should be looking healthy at the same time. So hierarchy of control measures eliminate risk by substituting the dangerous for less dangerous. Example, use of less hazardous substances. Substitute a type of machine which is a better guarded to make the similar product. Avoid the use of certain processes thereby. This is what we are looking forward to. Now comes combating the risk at the source of engineering control and giving collective protective measured priority. Examples, separate the operator from the risk of exposure to known hazardous substances by enclosing the process. Let us protect the dangerous part of a machine by guarding them. Design process machinery and work activities to minimize the release or to suppress contain airborne hazards. We are talking about design machinery which is remotely operated and to which materials are fed automatically. thus separating the operators from the dangerous areas as on when on basis. We should ensure that the comeback risk takes place. We are talking about minimizing risk by designing suitable systems of working, using PPEs or personal protective equipment in terms of clothing and this should always be the last resort. The hierarchy reflects an increased reliability in risk elimination and the control by the use of physical engineering as safeguards to the reliance for the employees. For the employees, remember, safety should always be the priority for the industry or for the company. Safety should always come first. With this, I come to an end of this presentation. Thank you for watching this video.